My heart is ready, O God, my heart is ready. I will sing praises. Awake, O my soul, awake, O harp and lyre. I will arouse the dawn. I will give thanks to you, O God, among the peoples, and sing your praises above the nations. Your love is high as the heavens. Your faithfulness reaches to the clouds. The voice of my beloved, there he comes, leaping over mountains, bounding over hills. Look, there he stands behind our wall, gazing in at the windows, looking through the lattice, and he says to me, for now the winter is past. The flowers appear on the earth, the time of singing has come. The green figs are ripening on the trees. Rise up, my love, O dove, in the clefts of the rock and the covert of the cliff. Let me see your face. Let me hear your voice. Where has your beloved gone, O fairest among women? Which way has your beloved turned, that we may seek him with you? My beloved has gone down to his garden, to the beds of spices. My beloved is mine, and I am his. Set me as a seal upon your heart. For love is strong as death. Its flashes are fiery flashes. Many waters cannot quench love. Were you to offer for love all the wealth of your house? let's turn over to page 454. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed.
Let's be seated. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzer or uvorei choshech, oseh shalom uvorei et hakol, umeir la'aretz v'ladarim aleha barachamim, Uvtuvo mechadesh b'chol yom tamid ma'aseh b'rashit. Ma'arabu ma'asecha kulam b'chochma asita. V'laharetz kinyanecha. Titbarach Adonai Eloheinu al shevach ma'aseh yadecha. V'al me'orei or she'asita yefa'arucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai yotzeh ha'olamot. Great is your love for us, eternal God, and abundant your compassion. Our ancestors trusted in you, and you taught them the laws of life. So be gracious to us and teach us. Incline our hearts to hear your words, to know and understand, to learn and teach, and with love to uphold the truths of your Torah. Open our eyes to your teaching. Make us faithful to your commandments, and wholehearted in the love and awe of your name. For in love you summon us to serve you and proclaim your unity.
Praise your God, in love you called your people Israel to serve you.
Please stand. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha V'chol levavecha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha V'hayu hadvarim ha'eleh Asher anochi mitzavacha hayom al levavecha V'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam V'shivtecha b'beitecha V'leftecha b'aderech V'ushachbecha uv'kumecha V'kshartam la'ot al yadecha V'hayu letotachot beinecha V'tavta ma'am mezuzot beitecha Uvishavecha. Let's be seated. Good and beautiful and true, sound, established, and enduring are these words now, forever. Everlasting God is our sovereign. The rock of Jacob is the shield of our salvation. Eternal God, you redeemed us from Egypt and freed us from the house of bondage. And then with great joy, Moses, Miriam, and all Israel together sang to you this song. Shira Chadasha Shibechu Ge'olim L'Shimcha Al Sfat Hayam Yachad Kulam Hodu V'Him Lichu Eternal God, open my lips, and my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'zocher chastei avot v'imahot, u'mevi geula livnei v'neihem, l'ma'an shmo b'yahava, melech ozer Moshiach u'magen, Baruch atah Adonai, magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah, atah gibor le'olam Adonai, mechayim etim atah rab le'hoshia, mashiv haruach u'morid hageshem, mazriach hashemesh u'morid hatav, Mechakel Chayim B'Chesed, Mechayim Eitim B'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Profech Olim, Umatir Asurim, Umkayim Emunato L'Shanei Afar, Mi Chamocha Ba'al Giburot, Umi Domelach, Melech Meimitum Chaye Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman Atala HaChayot Meitim, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mechaye HaMeitim. We revere and sanctify you, Even as in the prophet's vision, the seraphim sanctified you in the temple. As it is written, they call to one another and proclaim.
Kadosh, 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 Adonai Sabaoth, Melech haaretz Tzevaot, Melech haaretz Tzevaot.
Adonai, Adonenu, Moed Yershimcha b'chol haaretz.
Baruch kavod Adonai imkomo. Baruch kavod Adonai imkomo.
Nimkomohu yifen barachamim, yachon am ha'yachadim. Shmo erev v'boker b'chol yom tamid, pa'amayim b'hava shma omeru.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Chad hu Eloheinu, hu Avinu, hu Malkeinu, hu Moshienu, hu Yashmienu, brachamav shenit le'nei kol chai.
Ani Adonai Elohechem, Ani Adonai Elohechem.
Divrei kodshecha katuv le'or.
Yimlach Adonai Elohai Yitzion, Yadam Adon, Alleluia. Yadam Adon, Alleluia.
From generation to generation we will make known your greatness. To the end of time we will proclaim your holiness. Your praise, O our God, shall never depart from our lips. We praise you, eternal one, hallowed be God, and let's be seated. You have given us a special task among the peoples. In your love and favor, you've sanctified us by your commandments, drawn us near to your service, and charged us to make known your great and holy name. In your love eternal, on our God, you've given us Sabbaths of rest, feasts of joy, and seasons of gladness. Among them this Sabbath day, and this festival of unleavened bread, season of our freedom to unite us in worship, and in remembrance of the Exodus from Egypt. Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu, Ya'alev Yavo v'Yizacher Zichronenu, v'Zichron kol amecha Beit Yisrael lefanecha, v'Tova v'Livracha l'chaim u'shayom u'shalom v'yom chag hamatzot hazeh. Zochreinu Adonai Eloheinu, Bo l'Tova, this day remember us for well-being.
Amen.
Ufokdeinu Bo l'Bracha, bless us with your presence.
Amen.
L'Hoshienu Bo l'Chayim, grant us continued life.
Amen.
Grant, eternal God, that our observance of the festivals may bring us blessing, happiness, and joy. Sanctify us by your commandments, and make us loyal to your teaching. Satisfy us with your goodness, gladden us with your salvation, and purify our hearts to serve you in truth. And grant, eternal God, that the joy of the Sabbath and the happiness of the festivals may be with us always. We praise you, O God, you hallow the Sabbath, Israel, and the festivals. Eternal God, be gracious to your people, Israel, and in your love accept their prayers. May our worship now and always be acceptable in your sight. We praise you, God, whom alone we worship and reverence. Modina nachnu. Sha'atahu Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu le'olam va'ed. Tzur chayenu magen yishenu. Atahu ledor v'ador. Nodeh lecha u'nsacher tilatecha. Al chayenu hamizerim biyadecha. V'al nishmotenu ha'pekudot lach. V'al nisecha shebechol yom imanu. V'al niflotecha b'togotecha. Shebechol eid elef ha'boker v'tzoharayim. Baruch atah Adonai, atah shivcha u'lecha na'el levodos. Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu, barucheinu b'bracha hamshuleshet, hakatuva b'Torah, yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
Amen.
Sim shalom tova uvracha, chen v'chesed v'rachamim, aleinu v'yol kol Yisrael amecha, barucheinu avinu, kulanu k'echad b'or panecha, ki b'or panecha natata lanu Adonai Eloheinu, Torat chayim v'havat chesed, tzedaka uvracha v'rachamim v'chayim v'shalom, tov beinecha levarech et amecha Yisrael. Kol hamim, v'chol eitu v'chol sha'avi shlomecha, Baruch atah Adonai, Mosaic. Let's turn over the page to 468 for our festival morning Hallel. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'kro et ha'Hallel. Hallelujah. Give praise, O servants of the Eternal One.
Praise His name, praise ever.
God's name be praised now and forever.
From the rising of the sun to its setting, let God be praised.
Exalted above the nations is Israel's God.
His glory is above the heavens.
Who can be compared to our God who's enthroned on high?
Yet looks down on heaven and earth.
Who raises the poor from the dust
And lifts up the needy from the gutter.
to give them a place among the great.
Among the leaders of the people, hallelujah.
When Israel went forth from Egypt,
The house of Jacob from an alien people.
Judah became God's sanctuary.
Israel accepted God's rule.
The sea looked and fled.
The Jordan turned back on its course.
The mountains skipped like rams.
The hills like young lambs.
What makes you flee, O sea?
Why do you turn back, O Jordan?
O mountains, why do you skip like rams?
The hills like young lambs.
Tremble, O earth, before the Eternal One,
Before the God of
who
Jacob.
turns the rock into a pool of water.
The flinty rock into a fountain.
And let's turn over to page 474.
Hallelujah, Adonai, kol goyim, shaku, kol ha'umim, ki
In my distress I cried out to God.
who answered me and set me free.
God is with me, I'm not afraid.
What can the immortals do to me?
With God as my helper,
I can face any foe.
it is better to take refuge in God than to rely on human
It
beings.
is better to take refuge in God than to rely on those in power.
God is my strength and my shield.
And has become my salvation.
Hear glad songs of triumph in the tents of the righteous.
The Eternal One does mighty deeds.
God's power is supreme.
The Eternal One does mighty
I
deeds.
shall not die but live.
To tell of God's deeds.
Open for me the gates of righteousness.
Let the gates of heaven give thanks to God.
This is the gate of the Eternal One.
The righteous shall enter it.
Blessed are you who come in God's name.
Here in God's house, for you be blessed.
You are my God, and I thank you.
You are my God, I exalt you.
And let's turn over just a couple of pages for our Torah service on page 481. 481. There is none like you, eternal one among the gods people worship. And there are no deeds like yours. Your sovereignty is everlasting. Your reign endures from age to age. Eternal one, you reign, you have reigned, you will reign forever. Eternal God, give strength to your people. Eternal God, bless your people with peace.
אין כמוך ואלוהים אדוני, אין כמעשיך, מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים, וממשלתך בכל דור ודור. אדוני מלך, אדוני מלך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. אדוני עוד לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Eternal One is our God. The Eternal God is one.
אחד אלוהינו, גדול אדוננו, גדול שלום.
Let us magnify the Eternal One. Together, let us exalt God's name.
אדוני הגדולה, והגדולה, והתפארת בני צבאות, יחול בשמיים ובארץ, לך אדוני ממלכה, המתנשא לכל הראש. לך אדוני המלכה, המתנשא
Please be seated. Alright, so I'll be doing a split Torah reading, the main laws of Passover, and it's Exodus chapter 12, verses 37 to 42, and that starts in the Soncino in 396, and in the JPSA, 103, right at the top. And then I'm going to skip a bit and do from 13, 3 to 8. So that continues at the bottom of 103. And then if you're in the Soncino, you've got to turn over a couple of pages to page, believe it or not, 400.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach. Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
The Israelites journeyed from Ramesses to Sukkot, about 600,000 men on foot, aside from children. Moreover, a mixed multitude went up with them, and very much livestock, both flocks and herds. And they baked unleavened cakes of the dough that they had taken out of Egypt, for it was not leavened, since they had been driven out of Egypt and could not delay. Nor had they prepared any provisions for themselves. The length of time that the Israelites lived in Egypt was 430 years. At the end of the 430th year, to the very day, all the ranks of the Lord departed from the land of Egypt. That was for the Lord a night of vigil to bring them out of the land of Egypt. That same night is the Lord's one of vigil for all the children of Israel throughout the ages. And Moses said to the people, "Remember this day on which you went free from Egypt, the house of bondage, how the Lord freed you from it with a mighty hand. No leavened bread shall be eaten. You go free on this day in the month of Abib. So when the Lord has brought you into the land of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, which he swore to your fathers to give you, a land flowing with milk and honey, you shall observe in this month the following practice. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day there shall be a festival of the Lord. Throughout the 7 days unleavened bread shall be eaten. No leavened bread shall be found with you, and no leaven shall be found in all your territory. And you shall explain to your son on that day, it is because of what the Lord did for me when I went free from Egypt. And this shall serve you as a sign on your hand and as a reminder on your forehead, in order that the teaching of the Lord may be in your mouth, that with a mighty hand the Lord freed you from Egypt. You shall keep the institution at its set time from year to year." Vayisu b'nei Yisrael be'Ramesses Sukkotah Shesh me'ot alef raglei ha'givarim levad mitam v'gam erev rav ala itam tzonu bakar mipnei kaved ma'od vayafu eta batzei kasher hotziu miMitzrayim ugot matzot ki lo chametz ki gorshu miMitzrayim v'lo yachlu lehitmamea v'gam seda lo asu lahem Moshe b'nei Yisrael asher yashvu b'Mitzrayim 30 shana v'arba me'ot shana Mahi meket 30 shana v'arba me'ot shana Mahi be'etzem hayom hazeh yatzu kol tziva'ot Adonai me'eretz Mitzrayim le'el shemurim l'Adonai l'hotziam me'eretz Mitzrayim hu halayla hazeh l'Adonai shemurim l'chol b'nei Yisrael l'dorotam. Vayomer Moshe el ha'am, Zachor et yom hazeh asher yitzatem miMitzrayim, mibeit avadim, ki b'chozek yad hotzi Adonai etchem mizeh, v'lo yachel chametz, hayom atem yotzim b'chodesh ha'aviv, v'haya ki yaviacha Adonai al eretz ha'kanani, v'chiti ha'emori, v'chivi v'haibusi, asher nishba lavotecha, v'tet lach, Eretz Zavat Chalav U'Dvash V'avareta et Havodah Hazot V'chodesh Hazeh Shivat Yamim Tochal Matzot V'yom Hashvi Chag L'Adonai Matzot Yachel et Shivat Hayamim V'lo Yera'eh L'cha Chametz V'lo Yera'eh L'cha Shur B'chol Gvulecha V'higadeta L'bincha V'yom Hahu L'emor Ba'avor zeh asa Adonai li b'tzeiti miMitzrayim v'haya lecha le'ot al yadecha u'zikaron bein einecha l'ma'an tihiyeh torat Adonai b'ficha ki biyad chazaka hotziacha Adonai miMitzrayim shamarta et ha'chuka hazot v'mo'ada yamin yamin.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam Asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam natan b'tokeinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Please stand.
This week's Haftorah is from the book of Nehemiah. So who, I hear you all asking, was Nehemiah? Okay, right, well, we're talking about the period between about 450 and 440 BCE, i.e. about 140 years after the destruction of the first temple. What was the kingdom of Judea is now ruled by the Persians under King Artaxerxes. And Nehemiah was one of his favourite courtiers, was in fact his cupbearer. And he asked the king if he could be allowed to return to Jerusalem to gather the remnant of a few Jews who were still remaining there, and also to rebuild the city walls, which had been destroyed at the same time as the temple. Nehemiah encouraged the restoration of the law of Moses, but after a very short time he had to go back to Persia, to Susa, the capital. And while he was there, he learned that, as so often in their history, the Jewish people had reverted to their bad old ways and had backslid, if you like. So Nehemiah went back to Jerusalem. He purified the community, and he did his best to enforce the observance of the laws of Moses. Now, the passage which I shall be reading to you, it describes how the Jewish people are assembled together in penance and prayer, trying to atone for their past sins, and he recalls how God has helped them and has promised them the land. And one of the passages of this Haftorah describes the flight from Egypt and the journey through the wilderness, and so that's its relevance as the Haftorah today on this first Shabbos of Pesach. The passage I shall be reading to you is from Nehemiah chapter 9, verses 6 to 31. It's on the JPS Tanakh on page 1521. That's 1521. It's not in the Sonsino Chumash. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar b'milim tovim v'ratzah b'divreihem ha'ne'emarim ba'emet. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'bocher b'torah u'Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo u'v'nbi'ei ha'emet b'tzedek. You alone are the Lord. You made the heavens, the highest heavens, and all their host, the earth and everything upon it, the seas and everything in them. You keep them all alive, and the host of heaven prostrate themselves before you. You are the Lord God who chose Abraham, who brought him out of Ur of the Chaldeans, and changed his name to Abraham. Finding his heart true to you, you made a covenant with him to give the land of the Canaanite, the Hittite, the Amorite, the Perizzite, the Jebusite, and the Girgashite, to give it to his descendants. And you kept your word, for you are righteous. You took note of our fathers' affliction in Egypt, and heard their cry at the sea of reeds. You performed signs and wonders against Pharaoh, all his servants, and all the people of his land, for you knew that they acted presumptuously towards you. You made a name for yourself that endures to this day. You split the sea before them. They passed through the sea on dry land, but you threw their pursuers into the depths, like a stone into the raging waters. You led them by day with a pillar of cloud, and by night with a pillar of fire, to give them light in the way they were to go. You came down on Mount Sinai and spoke to them from heaven. You gave them right rules and true teachings, good laws and commandments. You made known to them your holy Sabbath, and you ordained for them laws, commandments and teaching through Moses your servant. You gave them bread from heaven when they were hungry, and produced a wafer from the rock when they were thirsty. You told them to go and possess the land which you swore to give them. But they, our fathers, acted presumptuously. They stiffened their necks and did not obey your commandments. Refusing to obey, unmindful of your wonders that you did for them, they stiffened their necks, and in their defiance resolved to return to their slavery. But you, being a forgiving God, gracious and compassionate, long-suffering and abounding in faithfulness, did not abandon them, even though they made themselves a molten calf, and said, "This is your God who brought you out of Egypt," thus committing great impieties. You in your abundant compassion did not abandon them in the wilderness. The pillar of cloud did not depart from them to lead them on the way by day, nor the pillar of fire by night to give them light in the way they were to go. You endowed them with your good spirit to instruct them. You did not withhold your manna from their mouth. You gave them water when they were thirsty. 40 years you sustained them in the wilderness, so that they lacked nothing. Their clothes did not wear out, and their feet did not swell. You gave them kingdoms and peoples, and allotted them territory. They took possession of the land of Sihon, the land of the king of Heshbon, and the land of Og, king of Bashan. You made their children as numerous as the stars of heaven, and brought them to the land which you told their fathers to go and possess. The sons came and took possession of the land. You subdued the Canaanite inhabitants of the land before them. You delivered them into their power, both their kings and the people of the land, to do with them as they pleased. They captured fortified cities and rich lands. They took possession of houses filled with every good thing, of hewn cisterns, vineyards, olive trees, and fruit trees in abundance. They ate, they were filled, they grew fat, they luxuriated in your great bounty. Then, defying you, they rebelled. They cast your teaching behind their back. They killed your prophets who admonished them to turn back to you. They committed great impieties. You delivered them into the hands of their adversaries who oppressed them. In their time of trouble they cried to you. You in heaven heard them, and in your abundant compassion gave them saviours who saved them from the power of their adversaries. But when they had relief, they again did what was evil in your sight. So you abandoned them to empower their enemies, who subjugated them. Again they cried to you, and you in heaven heard and rescued them in your compassion, time after time. You admonished them in order to turn them back to your teaching, but they acted presumptuously and disobeyed your commandments and sinned against your rules, by following which a man shall live. They turned a defiant shoulder, stiffened their neck, and would not obey. You bore with them for many years, admonished them by your spirit through your prophets, but they would not give ear. so you delivered them into the power of the peoples of the land. Still, in your great compassion, you did not make an end of them or abandon them, for you are a gracious and compassionate God. Al HaTorah, V'al HaAvodah, V'al HaNbi'im, V'al Yom HaShabbat Hazeh, V'al Yom Chag HaMatzot Hazeh, שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו, לקדושה ולמנוחה, לששון ולשמחה, לכבוד ולתפארת. על הכל אדוני אלוהינו, אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך, ישברך שמך בפי כל חי, תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת לישראל והזמנים.
And we continue on page 484. And do we have a reader for the first paragraph, bearing in mind our new ritual? Stephen, thank you.
Eternal God, whose dominion embraces the universe, we ask your blessing for our Sovereign Lady, Queen Elizabeth, and all the royal family, for those who govern our country and all who influence the quality of its national life. Make them conscious of their responsibility and teach them to exercise it in accordance with your will. May we all help to fashion in this country a society that excels in freedom and justice, tolerance and compassion, so that it may be a force for righteousness and peace in the life of humanity.
And second. Thank you.
Eternal God, as you blessed our ancestors in generations past, bless now this congregation, its leaders and its members, and all who enter this synagogue to meet, to study, and to pray. Comfort the sorrowing hearts among us, and heal those in anxiety and pain. May we all find here community and friendship, renewal of purpose and hope, a deeper understanding of our heritage, and a sense of your abiding presence. Bless all congregations of the house of Israel throughout the world. Let those who live under oppressive rule soon be freed, and may all unite to witness to your truth and do your will.
And this week we're very aware of Mike Solomon. It's so wonderful that we could all be together for Seder last night, and that Mike is finding some strength, so one step at a time. Hope for the best. And would anyone like to mention another member of the community, or a friend, or a loved one who we should be thinking about, who's ill or having a rough time?
Our mother, Mabel, who's making a good recovery after her fall, and there's good progress, and hopefully we'll have her back home soon.
And the paragraph about Israel?
Well, volunteer.
Eternal God, our rock and redeemer, grant blessing to the state of Israel, created to fulfill an age-old dream and to be a haven for the oppressed. Inspire its leaders and citizens with faithfulness to the aims of its founders, to develop the land for the benefit of all its inhabitants, and to implement prophetic ideals of liberty and justice. May they live in harmony with one another and in peace with their neighbours, and cause to come true once more the ancient vision that out of Zion shall go forth Torah and the word of God from Jerusalem.
Hallelujah, Shem Adonai Ki Niskav Shmo Levado. Let us praise the Eternal One, whose name alone is exalted. precepts are right.
Enlightening the mind,
God's commandments are clear.
enlightening the
His
eyes,
doctrine is pure.
enduring forever,
Its guidance is true.
and altogether just.
Behold, a good doctrine has been given you. Do not forsake it. It is a tree of life to those who hold it fast, and all who cling to it find happiness. Its ways are ways of pleasantness, and all its paths Last night we had a most delightful Seder at home, one of the nicest I remember for years and years and years. There were 12 of us, including 2 out of 3 children, which was wonderful, the other being about 3,500 miles away. And their friends, and a couple of members of the community, one who's given to telling long stories about growing up in the East End, and 3 guests, a gentleman from Chicago, one of the leading environmental lawyers in America, who's one of the newest members of the International Advisory Committee with EcoPeace, with whom I serve, and his daughter, and of course wife. I don't think I've forgotten anybody. And what I gave them an assignment, because if we're truly free, then people should be able to express themselves at a Seder. Yeah? So I asked each person in advance to share something for 3 or 4 minutes or so, and we would weave those contributions into the rituals somehow. And what followed was just magnificent. And contributions range, well, from the legal beagles, of whom there were 3, lots of legal questions pertinent to life nowadays, especially with respect to refugees and so on. And indeed, on our Seder plate, we had a torn shoelace and a key, both symbols in line with refugee status and people fleeing and so on. And there was something about food, and we discussed various food traditions, and everybody brought something that had to do with their own lives so they could individually connect with the ritual. And Lewis, needless to say, brought something very much about science and managed to build a connection. So it was really, really something. I suppose maybe the finest of what we as liberal Jews could do to fully engage as individuals with the traditions that we follow. One of the key things that happened was, for the second cup of wine, I was feeling, here we are sitting up on Harrow in the Hill in suburbia, talking about all these wonderful things, and we are actually incredibly privileged. We are so privileged in this country. most Jews are very privileged in this world. And despite the many threats that people face. And one of the key things about the Haftarah, which Alan read, was, what happens when you don't feel gratitude as a privilege? You're actually about to do horrible things either to yourselves or to others because you still view yourself as a victim. So I'll go a little more into that. And we might say that that is the slave mentality, viewing oneself as a victim and not being grateful for what you do have. So I made some substitutions for the second cup of wine. It was really, the bracha was about gratitude. And here we are sitting in comfort. We have the privilege, indeed the commandment, to worry about the welfare of others. And I want to give two examples that contrast with this outlook. There's plenty I could say about Israel, but I'm going to confine it to one little thing. People who find themselves in hospital right now during the Passover season in Israel. What about the question of chametz in hospitals? What about the question of the many people who are Jewish in Israel who are not Orthodox, who are either progressive or secular? What's going on with respect to the food that they might eat in hospital right now? Well, what's happening right now is that in hospital, the food that is being served is actually Pesach Dik. And what if you're someone who has trouble with that food in some way and doesn't eat it the entire week? What do you do? Well, the fact is you can't do anything. Because the security guards to the hospitals by state law are now acting as shomerim and are seizing food that is not certifiably Pesach Dik. And this is state law. And so there's been a petition submitted to the High Court of Justice against the ban of bringing chametz food into hospitals during Passover. Non-Jewish patients, secular patients, and the patients who aren't observant and their families are forced to sneak food surreptitiously into their mouths like outlaws, or leave food containing chametz at the hospital's entrance. Is this the spirit of Passover that we would want to be able to keep? And what's happening is that, as I said, the security guards who are normally guarding against things like weapons of terror and so on and so forth are now searching bags and seizing food. And the Supreme Court in Israel has said that they will only give an answer in June, which is too late for this year. Now, the response of the rabbinic authorities is simply to everyone, why not show respect for the laws of kashrut? This is Rabbi Lau. But I would argue that the same question should be directed right back instead of those about those who have a way of life imposed on them from outside that really has no meaning to them. So that's one thing. And here, as liberal Jews, we have the freedom to decide to ourselves, individual consciences, what are the ritual bits, what are the gastronomic bits that we actually find most meaningful, most honest to follow. And we give each other lots of slack. Some prefer to be very traditional, to clean their homes rigorously, to keep a rigorously chametz-free household all week, and some choose to do nothing of the kind. We give each other that choice. So sad that a society can be so immature that it doesn't offer similar freedom to its members, no matter the contributions they make to that society in all other ways. Let's expand a little bit further. I've been looking very recently at a very explosive book, which is about the Kushner family in America. Some of you may have taken to referring to Ivanka and Jared collectively as Jovanka, but that's the least of it. So this is about the role of being, about the idea of being traumatized, of having been in a sense enslaved, reaching a point of great comfort, and not able to be free, to feel free, let alone extend those obligations to others. Yeah? It's about continuing the mentality of a slave, even when you're hardly a slave yourself. You're a member of, let's say, the ruling class. So, I should also mention that there are two sorts of ways, we could say, that we might say in terms of those who break laws regularly. One is, we might say there's the sort of person who feels that they're above the law, and that it doesn't really apply to them. One example of this would be the famous New York real estate tycoon who said that taxes are for poor people. She was above the law. There's also the person who still feels very much the victim, the captive, and part of the adaptation to survive being a captive, being unfree, is actually to have complete disdain for any system. And it's actually a mechanism for survival. The only way to survive is to break rules. And in that situation, that's actually absolutely correct. But what if one gains a great deal of privilege and hangs on to that mentality and fails to grow? And this is very much about the Israelites in the desert, who are unable to accept the laws and responsibilities, the ethics that Moses tries to teach them. And furthermore, to really regard in the fullest sense what it is to have been a slave in Egypt, and to have empathy for others, because one is so trapped by one's trauma, one is unable to have regard for those who are more vulnerable. And specifically, the matriarch of the Kushner family, Jared's grandparents, and Ray Kushner. She escaped a ghetto in Nazi-occupied Poland through a tunnel. She spent days hiding in the forest and joined the Belsky partisans. This was a group of fighters, the Belsky brothers. They had a group of about 1,400 people hiding in the forests of Poland during the Shoah. They actually fought the Germans and the Soviets as well. Okay, they ran a little city, schools, hospitals, very little known. She became part of that before she made her way to America. And so only by breaking rules, not following orders, she survived. And this was a sense of you never wait, you never follow the system, because the system is dangerous. And the Kushner family motto is, think like an immigrant, act like an immigrant. So people in that position being traumatized and so put upon, they're unable psychologically to play the game. But what happens if you actually become a key player and very privileged yourself? One must grow, one must become free. And so we see with the Kushners a rather callous disregard for so many rules in society and breaking systems, the feeling not necessarily that one is simply above the law, but the law is what makes one suffer. So how do we grow up? How do we express a place of relative security and prosperity? And so when we get fusions of type 1 and type 2, as it were, those who are above the law And those who still remain traumatized will get very dangerous and symbiotic combinations. So, they went on to build billion-dollar empires and so on and so forth. And this is the problem we all have. And we need to feel gratitude without complacency for our relatively free status. But the best action we can follow is if we were once slaves, but we are now free. And that is to extend our awareness, extend the freedom to others who truly aren't as free as we are. Now turn over to page 520 and let's stand for the Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol latet gilula liotzer b'reshut asher sam tamkeinu li'afedet shalom v'gorleinu l'hamlich malchuto. Shemayim be'yosed aretz u'moshav yekaro b'shemayim ima'al u'shchinat u'zo b'gofhei me'olim hu Eloheinu ein od emet malkeinu efesulato kakatu torato yadata hayom v'hashevota elevavecha ki Adonai hu Elohim b'shemayim ima'al v'aretz mitachat. Trusting in you, eternal God, we hope soon to behold the glory of your might, when false gods will vanish from our hearts and idolatry cease forever. Help us to perfect the world by bringing it under your unchallenged rule. When all will invoke your name, relinquish evil and turn to you alone. May all who dwell on earth come to know that to you every knee must bend and every tongue swear loyalty. Before you let them humble themselves, and to your glorious name let them give honor. Let all submit to your sovereign rule. May that time come soon and last forever. For ultimate sovereignty is yours, and to all eternity you will reign in glory. As it is written, the Eternal One shall reign forever. inspire us to live as in their higher moments they themselves sought to live. We remember our loved ones now, for they remain in our hearts. They are a continual blessing. On this Shabbat Pesach, we remember Simon Cohen, Julian, I'm on the wrong week, I'm sorry. We remember Mabura Barda, David Bond, and Mimi Gordon. And Alan, we wish you strength and only good things and long life as you remember Francis.
20 years.
Francis Hunt. And we wish you both only good things in your life, in your marriage, in your family, your joined families. And also Kev and Olivia. We wish you strength and long life as you remember Kev's mother, Sandra. Where's Kev? There you are. Sandra Zients. And only good things on this Shabbat. And it hasn't been quite 20 years.
No. 10.
So would anyone like to mention the name of a loved one or friend that they're remembering or mourning on this Shabbat, this special Shabbat? And let's read Kaddish together. Yitkadal Yitkadash Shemei Rabbah Ba'alma Divrach Yirutei Yamlich Malchutei B'chayechon V'yomechon B'chayei Nechol Beit Yisrael V'agala B'zman Kariv V'imru Amen Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevorach Le'olam U'Lamei Lamaya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitrar V'terlom V'yitnaseh V'yitadar V'yitaleh V'yitalal Shemei Kudeshah B'reichu Le'elam in kol berachata v'ashirata, tushlachata v'nechamata, davidan b'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlomo rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu yel kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imroma, hui aseh shalom, aleinu yel kol Yisrael, yel kol b'nei adam, v'imru amen. Please be seated, everybody. I hope we have a special treat this morning for the Olam. Maybe a Pesach?
Yeah.
Or a conglomeration?
I was sticking with other food tune that we know.
Yeah, we've done that before. That works.
So
okay.
Exciting, Olam Hashem Olam B'terem kol yetziriva Ve'et natzah v'netzah Azai melech shemo nikra Ve'acharei Yigol hakol V'ado yimloch nora V'hu haya V'hu ovet V'hu yiyeh b'tifara V'hu echad v'lein sheni L'ham shilo l'chad yira V'li reshit V'li taklit V'lo ha'oz V'ham yisra V'hu eli V'chai goli V'suhem li v'lein tzara V'hu nisi u'manos li V'nat kosi v'yom eka V'ya'adon Aharuki V'et ishon v'arira V'kiruhi V'mirati Adonai li v'Elohim.
Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach. Our spy who's just gone into the wilderness tells us that it'll be a 10 to 15 minute wait. So talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah, I've got a couple of announcements.
Yeah, announcements.
Okay, I've had a dinner list that seems to have disappeared. Anyway, okay, first of all, thank you, Joseph, for solo singing. So I did something for the service. Doesn't matter, I've remembered stuff off the top of my head. We've got a couple of quite busy week of services. Thursday night, that's out, so the 7th day of Passover.
Arab 7th day.
That's 7 o'clock. Then Friday morning 11:15, have I got that right? Passover service. Then in the evening, Brigitte will be hosting Friday night service. If you want details of where she's lived or just to let me know that you're attending, please do. Don't turn up here because there's actually not going to be a service, but if you do want to attend, if you let the office know or me know, and I'll give you more details.
And Brigitte lives on Shaftesbury out just off of the Preston Road, the Mall, Woodcock Hill roundabout, the centre of the university.
I knew it well.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, there will be a reform service next.
Yes, sorry, there will, yes. And that's it, I'm done with announcements. Any? Alan?
Only to remind everybody, as we've got a moment, of the synagogue's AGM, which is on Sunday the 5th of May, which is a fortnight tomorrow, in this section here at 3 o'clock. So you come along if you can.
And send their apologies will be in Israel.
Okay.
There's no excuse.
Shabbat Shalom.
It's quite nice to meet you, but it just makes it very
So you get holistically, not just about
close your blind days. That seems destroys the irony. I know.
You want to? You can contact the office. My details are on it. If you want to contact the office, we just list her numbers because she's got but you're welcome. You're very welcome.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you don't know that, you don't have to write a note. We're not that good. In 3 times maybe, you know, 3 strikes a year. Yeah, you're good.
Thanks very much.
Sorry.
Absolutely, yeah. You strap a rock and dismiss with beer. That's right.
During the course of Israel will rise up declining evermore every year.
What about medications that we take on this? People allowed to take their pills, you know. Well, I imagine it's preservation of life.
my family used to do two, and I could listen to one ago. So I could do the same as with friends. So I was thinking about third nights. We always keep saying the same thing to do it twice. Just to get a variation.
My favourite bar.
Yeah. Is there one tonight here? Is it cross Mosaic? Who needs it?
She says,
Deep shout. Silly. I don't know how that one.
Go to the
I've done it in a number of shows where there isn't someone who can sing. I've just sort of been hostage, kind of lead the singing just to boost that. Used to have singing. Just Kathy singing. Yeah.
It's brave enough.
And it was 11 o'clock.
No, I think you're wise. I mean, maybe have some discussions, but you're probably wise to make it more informal.
This is my.
Yeah, that'll be
this is a more
tomorrow night against Friday. I'm having night off
on the first
Friday.
day.
Baby has gone down with her parents today, so I'm still incredibly luxurious. So that's what I want to do myself. Parents live in Worthing. No, it's not too far. I've got a couple of days. I should do some work, but I pop down to
2 months back.
Rebellion. I haven't been, but my friend's doing a charging thing now, so I might go join that. Yeah, there was some kind of thing, yeah.
You better not take that into a hospital.
I'm very nice.
So I'll see you down in
Corporatized, should I say, or branded? I should say that.
Yes,
the bank holiday come on.
Just saying, so going to town to see
Possibly. Okay, Olivia.
Lovely to see you. Did you have a really good
It was totally amazing.
I hear you were abroad.
Most of the time.
Okay.
just discovered, Frank, why it was so warm in here.
The heat was.
Is it? Oh dear.
Just turned it off.
Oh, whose is this?
Just
Okay.
It's mine, sorry. I just
Okay, no, I don't mind. I just don't want anybody to forget it. I better run down.
Yep.
Otherwise, we'll get screened out. I didn't want to take the time to do that. That's tricky.
Is it?
Yeah, the caretaker could do it.
Okay.
So
All right. Did you want one of these yellow candles?
No, that's alright.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay then. Which jacket's that then?
if I come back.
Oh, it's okay.
We're still waiting on the scratch the windows.
Well, I did some already. And now,
Yeah.
do you think anybody want these yellow candles downstairs?
No, they've got their own arrangement.
Oh, okay.
But what I need to do is look.
Is what?
I should have announced it. The secretary told me about it as well.
He said, kids, they can shake, but I'll try. I'll try and check.
Right. Whose bag is
Here.
it? Whose bag is this?
I don't know.
That's Daniel's bag.
Yeah.
So I'll do the locking up. So did you do these ones?
I did.
Told you it was Daniel's bag.
I just had the most amazing feedback from Janet.
About what?
She said, I don't know what you did, but it started on time and we had a reasonable sermon.
It was a very good service. He did, yeah, we've done some. I actually quite enjoyed their service. I thought the sermon was good. He timed it. It was a much better service, so he'd done some good. The only thing I would say, he wouldn't have been from he's got no views as he
You want these jobs taken back?
Yes, please.
Is it done?
I tell you that, I would say, and maybe it's up to you, because you're the one who sent it to him, maybe give him something positive, because if you say, look, and then that's what it gets paid for. Sorry,
There is
always feel, and this is something I've learned from my course,
okay.
when there's negative,
No.
to give
The
a
thing,
positive
the
as well.
thing I would say to you is that service tells me that he's taking on board the feedback he was given.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. It's worth. If it was me, but no, it's not me. It's you. I would acknowledge that.
There will be a further meeting and discussion.
Okay. Well, it's all in that. I'm not involved, so it's not.
Please.
I do treasury, but I'm just
Trust us to do the work the council has set us to do.
Yeah, that's good. Yes.
You know, there's right.
No, but it's good, and I'm pleased with it. So.
Where do the jugs belong? On the
In
side?
the kitchen, just put them in the kitchen by the sink.
Downstairs?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you meant the room downstairs. I went into the room at the end of the corridor.
No, downstairs.
Oh, okay. I think to put that on there. Is this your book, or shall I put it back?
You know that family that were here, the reason why they're here, because they want to go to JFS.
Sorry?
Oh, do they?
They want to go to Jewish school, and they can only go to JFS if they get a certain amount of points.
Yes, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't be civil to
No, I'm very civil.
I'm treating decent.
I did treat you decently.
Sorry, but I feel particularly strongly. These people are here because of.
No, it's good. I think it's good. I'm being positive. I think it's good.
And good luck to them.
I agree with them. I just explaining what the. And what I'm hoping.
Is any of these
This
yours?
is what I'm hoping. Is that not? Yeah. That as a result of it.
Is this yours?
No, they can go back. That they may want to carry on once they get.
Well,
I doubt that.
Yeah, but I'd like it. That's my ideal.
But it doesn't mean we can't be decent.
We are decent to them. They were very. They seem to feel very welcome, which I'm pleased about.